Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
And I'm Ryan Newman.
All right, so a few days ago, we released our SEC head coach rankings on this channel, and Ryan and Trey had Kirby Smart passing up Nick Saban. I was the only one who put in a vote for Saban at first, but majority wins, so I was the loser there. But we discussed a little bit in that episode our arguments for. We just kind of debated Smart versus Saban. And in this episode, we're just going to flesh that out a little bit more. So my first question before we get to these arguments for you is, how confident are you in putting Smart first? Like, did you have to think about it, or you kind of think it was a sure thing?
You know, honestly, I didn't have to think about it that long. Just with what happened the last couple of years, to me, he kind of overtaken him. And I don't feel like you can make a case for Saban, but to me, it was pretty clear. And if you would ask me this 6 months ago, then it would have been totally neck and neck, and I probably would have gone Saban. But, last year did happen, so it's pretty big to me.
I guess for me, it was like I'm not super confident in still having Saban, but I guess it was one of those where I didn't have to think about it too much, but yet I think it's close, which is kind of
I hear you.
Seems counterintuitive. But all right, well. Let's get into the arguments, though. So first one I have for Saban is longevity. He's had 27 years in college football of extremely high level of head coaching. And 6 national titles at Alabama alone, 15 straight top 10 finishes. I think 10 of those were top 5 finishes. So just an insane run that is still
the best run we've ever seen.
Best, yeah, exactly. Yep. And then the second one, which kind of goes hand in hand with it, but I'll make some different points here, is that he's had success with different schools and in different eras. So, like, sometimes a coach is maybe just at the right job at the right time. But with Saban, we've seen him at Toledo. We've seen him at Michigan State. We've seen him win a title at LSU. And now this crazy run at Alabama. So you're sure it wasn't just kind of the fit that happened there. You've seen it everywhere. So I just have that confidence that no matter where you had placed Saban, or even right now, no matter where you placed him, he would have huge success. And just because of the fact that he's had such a long time as a head coach, he's had to have different coordinators, different assistant coaches. I mean, just a crazy amount of turnover. Because his teams were so successful, everyone was poaching, and yet he's remained successful. So that's something that we haven't had to see a ton of from Smart, not through his fault. It's just that he's only been a coach for 7-8 years, however long it is. Probably should have looked that up if I was
coached for 7 going into his 8th.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right. So number 3 I have is recruiting, just because I'm sure you're going to discuss that Kirby's the young hot shot, right? But
hot shot.
Usually that well, I don't know if people would call Kirby a hot shot, but but usually that translates into better recruiting, right? Being younger. But Saban has not really skipped a beat there, right? He just had one of the best recruiting classes of all time, better than Georgia's this past season. So I would say the two of them are neck and neck there, but I just would point out that that's not necessarily a reason to put Smart ahead of Saban. Fourth reason is just a little bit of a warning. Remember Dabo Swinney, because we had this discussion, like, whatever it was, 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more, with Saban and Swinney. And some people did put Swinney ahead of him. And probably all three of us, the other, me and you and then Trey, I think all kept Saban number 1. I'm pretty confident in that. But there were some people out there that were really having the argument and putting Swinney ahead, and I'm sure they regret it now. Because Swinney had a very good, he'd had a good 6-7 years prior, but then it was really kind of a 3-year stretch where he won 2 national titles in 3 years. So if you kind of looked at the recency, then you'd say, hey, Swinney's on top right now. Well, that didn't work out. I'm not saying that Smart is going to kind of fall back quite like Swinney has the past few years, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's possible.
So number 4, no, I already did number 4. Number 5. Oh, this is my final point here is, I know you're going to bring up recency. Well, I kind of picked an arbitrary endpoint here of
Yeah.
recency of
Well,
3
I did that
years.
too in mine. So
Yeah, that's fine. We're trying to make arguments here, but
yeah.
I mean, I don't think looking back 3 years, that's kind of a nice uh, point of reference
It's
for short
nice.
term.
That's nice.
It's very nice. So Nick Saban is 37-4 in that time. He's got one national title and two SEC titles, and Kirby Smart 37-3, two national titles, one SEC title. So if you're looking at those resumes, I'd say, okay, yeah, Kirby's is like slightly better, but it's basically a
Right.
draw. I mean, over that 3 year period. So to me, because of all the points I've made prior and the crazy amount of a head start that you'd have Nick Saban, right? Like 3 years ago, we all would have Nick Saban, not even close. He's number one, well
Yeah.
ahead of
2 years ago.
Smart.
Yeah.
And so now 3 years later, all that's happened is the records I've shown there. So I just don't think it's enough. Like I agree, Smart has been, Georgia, I shouldn't say Smart. Georgia has been better in that 3 year period, by more even than those records look. But still, I just don't think it's quite enough to overcome the GOAT that we all agree is the GOAT.
That's fair. All right. Well,
there's my case.
Let's tune up the case for Kirby Smart over Nick Saban, shall we?
Okay. All right.
All right. That's all you really need right there. Back to back.
Is that your whole argument? Are you done?
I'm done. That's all I need. Mic drop, baby. No. Yeah. Back to back national titles. Most recent success. That's the whole point of college football is to win the national title. And they've done it 2 years in a row. So what else can Kirby Smart do?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Recruiting. Okay. Now, so you made your case for Saban, and it's legit. Now, I kind of look back at this a little more data filled. So going back like the last 6 recruiting classes. So the 2018 class, Georgia's average class ranking is 2.1, and Alabama's is exactly 2. So essentially the exact same recruiting for the last 6 years. Now that 2018 class, though, kind of the reason why I picked that is those would have been redshirt juniors and seniors on Georgia's, first national title here in 2021. So, and then they won the following year, of course, so back to back. So ever since Smart has had his elite classes kind of filled within his whole program and of age, he's been better than Saban. They've been the better team, and Saban had his guys still too, but Saban, Smart was just had better teams the last couple of years. So, and of course, it's the best in the country. So I think when you look at that recruiting neck and neck, that really doesn't really sway it either way.
Okay.
The youth factor, this has got to be a factor that, of course, my kind brother here, Nick, I guess he did bring it up a tiny bit, didn't you? You said something about the age factor here, but it's a quarter of a century, man. It's like he's almost 25 years older. That is a significant difference. Saban's gonna turn
I like
70.
Quarter of a century. That framing is just trying to poison the well here.
That's what I'm doing, man. I'm trying to make it sound really bad. But it's a long time. He's going to turn 72 on Christmas. On Halloween. Saban is. Yep. So that's a long time. He's got to be near the end. I mean, Saban's kind of a machine. It does seem like. I'll give him credit. Like, could probably go another 5 years.
To be clear,
maybe.
If I was choosing a coach to start a program today, of course I would choose Smart because of the age factor.
That's kind of how I almost take these questions. Is who would I rather have as my who would I rather have as my coach?
Okay, I get that, but then it's like, okay, then in our national ranking, wouldn't you have Saban like 6th or something? Because
like if you're splitting hairs like you are here with, Smart and Saban, that's just one little factor to kind of consider.
Okay, the way I kind of look at it is I take into account age as it affects their current ability to coach, right? Like even if I knew Saban was retiring next year, I would still have him number one just because of like right now I think that's his coaching ability if he were to continue.
Yeah, I hear you.
But
that's fair. But even still, I think it's a factor to consider.
I would all things being equal, I'd rather have a younger coach. So that
exactly. There you go. Yep.
At least, younger than 72 or whatever he said.
Yeah, you don't want a 20-year-old, but yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. All right. Next point. Here's my kind of picking the best spot to choose.
Yeah.
The last 34 games, Smart is 33-1, Saban is 30-4. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot different, but when you're talking, those few games, it's like those are the national title games that you're talking. Those are the big ones that makes the difference. So That's a significant difference. That's why
it is.
Georgia
And if
is
we
your
looked at
back-to-back
like
national champ.
if we looked at like SP Plus rating or you know, Vegas ratings over that time, Georgia's way ahead.
Better.
Though I will say, Saban is, I think, 2-1 against Georgia the past 3 years, but head-to-head's overrated anyway. So, all right.
Yep.
I don't know why I'm arguing against myself. But.
It's okay. I did a little of that too. This one's a little interesting. So the immediate success at like their first head coaching job. So Kirby Smart, this is, Georgia's his first head coaching job he's had, and he's killed it in his second season. Like right away, he was good. National title, second year for a program that hadn't gotten there for a very, very, very long time. So that's a heck of an accomplishment. Now, Michael brought up the great success for Nick Saban at multiple different stops. I might argue, okay, you went 9-2 at Toledo. It was 1 year. That's a good year, no doubt about it.
And they were like horrendous. Like they were pretty bad before that, or mediocre. And so
now Michigan State, his tenure, it was good, but he was 34-24. It wasn't like he was a god there. I mean, Mark D'Antonio had a better record than him. So Mark D'Antonio had some better seasons. NFL was not good for Saban. Then at LSU, where all of a sudden you think, and if you look back in history, Saban was just amazing there. He was there for 5 years, had one national title, but that was his only top five.
One.
Hey, but that was his only top 5 finish. And in 3 out of the 5 years he was there, they didn't even finish in the top 10. So really just 2 out of the 5.
What were they before he got there? I mean,
No comment.
Okay.
Jerry DiNardo was the coach. So,
Okay. But you're right. Okay. Kirby's job at Georgia right now is better than what Saban did at LSU. You could
argue. It's not even close.
Well, I'd have to look at what LSU's kind of stature
was. He was
48-16.
Well, Jerry DiNardo didn't necessarily.
So it's a little different.
But it was still LSU.
Kirby inherited a pretty consistent, program. They were not elite, but they were just below that.
Okay.
But either way,
but it wasn't like Saban left as a top 5 team. His last year wasn't the national title team. So,
okay.
But even year 5 wasn't that amazing. So that was just a little kind of caveat that I found interesting, that, Saban had so much experience and build up to this that, Smart's just done it right out of the gate. So, 48-16 at LSU, and then Smart's 81-15. So that's in like 32 more games. Smart still has one less loss. Now,
okay.
Yep. Okay. And then you have to look up to this season, the 2023 outlook. I mean, pretty much everybody, metrics and prognosticators, experts think Georgia's going to be better. I'm sure there's some that, definitely Alabama people, but like some that might say not, but it's pretty consensus that Georgia's supposed to be the better team. Alabama has some significant questions, specifically at quarterback, and, the defense hasn't been like necessarily elite. Georgia's obviously is, but so there's questions. Georgia's just supposed to be better. So that, if that's the case, that'll be 3 years in a row of Georgia just being better than Alabama. And that's starting to be more than just, your one hit wonder. It's more of a trend, right?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty important factor.
I think you've made a lot of good arguments here. I think that's one of your better ones, and the one that kind of worries me most because you're right. I expect Georgia to be better this year. I mean, it's, within a margin for error.
Close,
yeah, it's possible, but I do expect them to be better, and especially, there's concerns that I talked about the longevity of Saban, and the kind of brain drain hasn't affected him, right? He's just hires the next guy, and the next guy's great.
Yeah,
it's maybe catching up with him right now. It kind of potentially
see about Tommy Reese and whatnot, but
yeah, and so it's that's worrisome, because in a year from now, I definitely I could change my mind. So
right, yeah. Well, and then the coaching thing, the assistant coaches. It's not like, Saban's taken multiple offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators to a national title game. I know it hasn't been like 3 or 4 or 5 or anything like that, but each side of the ball.
You saying Smart has taken?
Smart.
Taken multiple. Okay,
Smart has. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Right. Yeah, he's dealt with some of it for sure. Yeah,
he's had at least 2 different offensive coordinators and 2 different defensive coordinators go to a national title with him. So success with multiple coaches on each side of the ball.
Okay.
Albeit not like Saban, of course, yet.
Yes. Okay. One final point.
Got to bookend it with back-to-back national titles. What are we doing? This is just, come on, 2 years in a row. It's over.
Okay. All right. Well, your list was a longer list. You kind of
I cheated.
Kind of buffered it with having the same point twice.
Sandwich those. One more. I had one more. Really.
Yeah. So, I mean,
you could have come up with another.
I'm sure I could have. I could have. But yeah, it's. I don't know. We'll let the viewers decide. It's
a fun debate, because there's no wrong answer, of course. Like that's what makes college football kind of fun, and at least one of the fun things about it is like you can have two people just have completely different outlooks on the same exact thing, and neither of them are wrong. It's just a matter of opinion and point of view.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, comment below who you think won the debate, or I guess just who you think. Probably the debate maybe didn't change your stance. Just who do you think's the better coach right now? Nick Saban or Kirby Smart? So we'd appreciate that.
Kirby Smart.
Yeah, Kirby Smart.
It's a little shot at the end there from Michael.
Yeah, if I would have said Kirby Shart if I was trying to impact the the voting. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.